eBay and online scams.
and how not to be a victim.
Absolutely. Hello, fellow pickers. My name's Mike, and with me today, if you remember this guy, is Carl. How you doing, Carl?
Doing great, man. How you doing? It's good to be back on the show.
Oh man, I got so excited when you were told me that you were going to do an episode with me. The listeners have been asking for you. Where are you at? What's going on?
I don't
Jen's
believe
been
that for one
asking
second,
for
but
you.
thank you.
So how's everything going? Got any updates for us? How's life?
Yeah, what kind of updates are you looking for? Just general updates or
Tell us some big scores. What have you been
big?
scoring on?
Yeah, I've just been kind of cycling through things, and you and I had this conversation a little while back where I don't know if it's just this year or if I just wasn't paying attention to previous years. I know that typically like fourth quarter, you tend to, things start to move a little bit faster. People are buying gifts and whatever.
Right.
But this year in particular, things were moving like super fast for me, like lightning fast. And so I tried to take advantage by listing more. It was kind of an effort because just of my current life structure, but I tried to get as much out the door as possible. And I think it was good. How about you?
Yeah, fourth quarter has been jamming for us too. We had maybe 2 days that were slow, and that was it. And it sounded like it was slow for everybody, but
Okay.
it's pretty nice. So have you sold through all of your inventory that you sourced over the summer?
Yeah, I would say typical years is I'm almost all the way through by now, if not all the way through. And then there's like a few leftover
Mhm.
things like in January. But no, this year, even with like upping my listings, I'm actually I guess I did better than I thought last summer. Maybe it was this podcast.
Okay,
It inspired me. I was just like, pulling deals left and right. But no, I've still got quite a bit to go through. I'd say I've still got a couple months worth at least, which is awesome. So
good.
I'm gonna keep going,
Doing
man.
something right.
Yeah.
Love it.
How about you? You
All
still got a
right.
lot of Tupperware though, right? Or are we doing that later? Is that a Tupperware update?
Yeah, that's a Tupperware update. And I get your opinion on that. Let's get your opinion on that later on in the show
Okay,
and go for the Tupperware update. But Tupperware is doing great.
good.
So I'm going to ambush you a little bit.
Okay.
And so I was reached out to you on our Instagram page by a casting agent,
Yes.
and I sent his information over to you because he was looking. The casting agent was casting for a picker show.
Right.
They were looking for somebody with 5 years experience. I've got a year. I'm not quite up there yet, so I sent it over to Carl. And I don't know if you all know this or not, but Carl's got a super famous other podcast, a
Not that
backpacking
famous.
podcast.
Calm down.
It's got like come on, you have like 1 million downloads.
Oh,
It's
goodness
just,
gracious.
but as a good friend that I am, a backpacker I am, I was listening to the podcast and you talked about this casting agent on 2 of your episodes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Carl, you never mentioned Picker's podcast on your backpacking while you're telling those stories. How could
Oh,
you not talk about us?
Pickers podcast. I'm waiting to have you on to
Yes.
do that, to be honest.
It would have been the perfect insert right there, man. Oh,
Oh,
Mike, he sent
I
me over
wasn't
this
even thinking of that.
information.
I was thinking totally different angle, to be honest. I wasn't even, yeah, you're right. I probably should have mentioned that. I was thinking more like my other buddy, the co-host for the backpacking podcast, my buddy Derek. He's an actor, and so I was more looking for,
Mhm.
I think this is more of like a goofy thing. I don't think of this as like being a serious endeavor or like a serious opportunity. I don't think that
Mm.
they're really going to like look at me or consider me as an option for the show. And I don't even know that they really have the show. Well, yeah, I don't know that they have it all figured out yet. So I think they're still working on it. But I could be wrong. Like, who knows? But I just thought it'd be funny to get his perspective because he's more of the performer than me.
Mhm.
And so I thought I could get his advice on things. I wasn't thinking about the concept of picking or anything along those lines. So sorry, man.
I don't care about
Sorry.
picking. I just promote our podcast on your big podcast. That's what I
Okay.
want. No, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Derek, Derek definitely is a big personality. I could see where you're going with that.
Why don't
So
you make a
for our
promo?
listeners,
You make a promo of the podcast. Give me like a 30 to 45-second promo and I'll put it on the other podcast.
sounds good. I'll
All
get
right.
that worked out for you.
Okay.
So for our listeners, it was kind of a teaser right there. But yes, we're reached out by a casting agent. They're casting for a pickers show. They're going to, I don't know how many details you can give about it or how many details we can give about it. But it was interesting to be reached out to. The guy actually said he went through and looked at a few of our videos so that Carl would be a good candidate for it. That I have a face for radio, so I couldn't be a candidate.
I have a
But
face for radio too. So that's why I was like, they're not taking me seriously.
But you actually got an interview, right? Did you
Yeah.
go to that interview?
Yeah, I mean, they called it an audition, which it basically just was an
Audition, okay.
interview online. It wasn't like I was going
Mhm.
in. They didn't get to see, like, how big my muscles are and all that stuff. But I also heard that they reached out to other folks that we are pseudo connected with.
Yeah.
So, like, Rachel Strickland, for example, who is a former beauty pageant person. Like, how do you compete with that person, right? How do
Right,
you?
she's a big personality
And
too,
she's a big
right.
personality, yeah, so I don't know, like, like, just we're not either you or me are not as pleasing to the eye on on camera, as anybody who would, be, yeah, doing that kinda stuff and, like, a YouTuber specifically who's succeeding. So, you never know, man. If it's meant to be like, my take is, like, if it's meant to be, if there's some sort of, like, grander purpose in this, awesome. I will lean into that and use that platform to, to spread the word, spread the truth. If it's not meant to be, then, like, I know that I'm probably wasn't taken seriously in the first place. So that's where
You
I'm
were
at.
taken seriously. Obviously, if you got an audition, you were taken seriously. But that was really cool, man. We're really excited to see somebody reach out to us, and like you said, there is a lot of other big personalities that I'm pretty sure that he's reaching out to too.
For sure.
Okay, that's all that I wanted to do to ambush you on. I love to hear that story. So, a couple sales updates, or no, this is what I got to get into. I've been holding this thing for you for a while, and
Okay.
it is a negative review, a 3-star review on the Pickers
Oh, okay.
podcast.
You know what it is right now. You wanna start the episode with negativity.
Yeah, it's a negative review, but it's truthful, and
Okay.
we're all about truthful here on the Pickers podcast.
All right.
All right, the review is from Roaring Run, and it's never take seriously the advice of inexperienced resellers. Now,
Mm.
disclaimer: I've never claimed to be an experienced reseller, right? I know I'm brand new.
Okay.
Another podcast from folks who lack experience, inventory, and valuable advice for anyone who wants to create or expand an eBay business.
Yeah,
If you're
alright.
still selling, if you're still selling things you find sitting around your house, you really shouldn't be giving any advice. If you think $37 is a major online flip, you should keep building towards creating a business, quote unquote.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
And so we shouldn't have a podcast. Like, that guy is trying to single-handedly convince us to not proclaim anything out on the podcast airwaves so that we don't what? That we don't mislead people, that we don't share stories? Like, what does he want us to stop doing, I guess?
Yeah, I guess we just don't have enough experience to share any valuable advice, I guess.
So
So
what so
maybe I need
so
to
the
start off with
damage that we're
explaining
doing
that.
is we're potentially wasting somebody who's experienced, like, wasting their time.
Maybe, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. If you're looking for an experienced podcast, man, I am not the
Yeah,
place you
we
should be
we've been
coming.
pretty upfront about that. I think that, yeah, I think
Mhm,
his comment, appreciate you taking the time for the feedback, but I don't know that that really is relevant
right.
to our show. And then, I mean, it'd be like
Mhm,
saying, like, "Hey, the American Pickers, like, they didn't teach me anything
mhm.
because it's just a scripted show." Which it kinda is. It's just a scripted show. They're finding people ahead of time. They're finding these picks, and then they're dealing with people, and they're dealing with characters. Well, that's not what the show's about.
Yep.
Like, they're not there. It's not like an instructional based show. It's not like a YouTube channel, like, with a how
Mhm.
to attached to it, right? So it just depends. Yeah, it
Exactly.
depends on what you're looking for. If you're listening right now, you're probably looking for Mike to unleash some knowledge in hopefully an entertaining sort of way.
Exactly. It needs to give some MBA breakdown, some business advice, like some I don't know KPIs. Do you want to hear about KPIs and just give it some spreadsheets? Start showing spreadsheets and stuff like that. Would that help people
That'd
out?
be more like, yeah,
Like
a
that?
how to YouTube channel for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
definitely.
But
I
we
did like
welcome
this.
all. I mean, I like the feedback though, for sure. And no
Mhm,
matter what you do, no matter how, I mean, you could be the number one reseller in the world. You could be, a
mhm.
billionaire reseller and the best teacher in the world. So you're literally going through it and you're giving people nuggets of, um, just clues on how to get better at this or that, no matter where they are in their process. You would still get somebody who is criticizing you, man. Like, that's just how it is. Like, people just like to criticize. They like to, if they find that they know more or are better than somebody else, like, it makes them feel better. I don't know if that's the case with this particular person, but it just happens. It's unfortunate, but it happens.
Yep, I do. I've sat on this review for a while and I stewed on it. I heard people talking about don't read the comments, don't. No, the one negative comment is gonna ruin the 15 positive comments that you get on something.
Right.
But I stewed on his thing that said $37 is a major flip online. I stewed on that for a really long time. I was like, who out there is making 37 bucks on their flips? That on every flip, that would just be amazing. But I think I might have read it wrong. He said major flip
Right.
online. And I have good flips at 37. I wouldn't call them major.
No, no, no.
You know, that sweater at $110 profit was pretty major. I would call that a major flip for me.
Yeah, and major is different for everybody, right? So for you, $100 is major. Maybe in 5 years, $500 is major. Maybe in 10 years, 2,000, it's like it's just
Yeah,
relative. Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm sorry that burst your bubble a little bit, but you got to move on, man. There's enough other folks out there who like you for whatever reason and keep on coming back.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Uh,
I appreciate the support. Uh,
all right, you gotta move past that. Yeah, with the reviews, you can't delete them, but you can move past them. So
Past it.
I thought we are talking about scams though. Like, where's this episode going? You got all sorts of agendas here, but are we talking about
All
scams?
right. We're going to give you 6 eBay or reselling scams that we found that are going on right now. So, Carl, you got your 3 ready?
I'm ready, man.
Number 1. You want to go with number 1? You're the guest of honor. Let me
Okay,
let you
I'll
go
I'll do
first.
one. eBay scams, and then we're talking about how to avoid the scams too, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So this one I think happens more often than people realize it. I think people that probably do a lot of selling have figured out this is happening. But this is where you sell something that is good condition, it's working fine, whatever, and then you send it to the person and then they get it and they report that it's not working fine, it's not in good condition, and it's a similar it's like it just looks similar enough to what you thought it looked like. Maybe you're selling a lot of stuff, you don't have everything exactly memorized, maybe you didn't take quite all the pictures you needed to kind of prove that the item they're complaining about is the same item that you sent. And so that when they return it, either it's an item that it's not it's too heavy, it's not worth you paying the return shipping, so they end up keeping it, or they return to you a swapped out item that is in bad condition, that isn't working, and you get the bad item back. They get to basically swap out their bad item for a good item that you sent them. So fraud is what I'm talking about here.
Item switching. That was a good one. That was one of my top ones too.
Okay.
What do you got for advice on switching those out? Because that's a huge problem right now. It's a lot in a lot of the forums on Facebook and on Reddit and stuff like that. People
Yeah.
switching out items.
Oh, is that I didn't even know that. Yeah. So I think the big solution, and there's a couple of things. Taking enough pictures is definitely part of it. So if somebody gets something, you're
Mhm.
like, oh, well, mine didn't have that mark on it or whatever. That's that's probably like level one. If it's something that has some sort of serial number on it, that's like surefire. Like, okay, you're sending me something back
Yeah.
that doesn't have the right serial number. And if you want
Mhm.
to catch somebody, then you can just take a picture of the serial number, but not actually post it. So that way, when they send you the wrong one back, you can prove that that they're scamming and maybe turn them into eBay. That way, I don't know. I don't know how. I've never actually gotten that far with it. I don't think I'm not selling enough items. It doesn't happen enough to where this is a problem. But if you're trying to catch somebody and get them off eBay, that's a possible solution. That's my idea. What's your idea?
Yeah, no, the serial number thing is a great idea. So either taking a picture of it or putting it in the description or
Mhm.
in one of the line items. So if a scammer is trying to get it out there for you, they might not look at the full description. Then you have some kind of log from eBay in your eBay store that shows
Right.
that that serial number was on there.
That's safer to do it
A
that way
couple
for
of the
sure.
other, yeah, a couple of other things that people were talking about is putting a little mark, like you're talking about, an inconspicuous mark somewhere that's not noticeable.
Hmm.
And then one of the most ingenious ones that I heard recently was taking an invisible pin and putting a mark on the product in an invisible pin. And then when it comes,
Really?
yeah, then when it comes back, you can see if it's actually your product or not.
Wow. I like that
Yeah,
one. I hadn't thought about that
yeah,
one.
yeah. My
But then how do you prove
well,
that to eBay? Like, hey, eBay, FYI, I used an invisible pen, and this one
that's
doesn't
a
have
good
the
point.
mark.
That's a good point. What the one that I mean, that's kind of over the top. But the one that I'm going to do, or the one that that I am doing is, like, in battery compartments or under tags or in between tags or something like that, putting a really small mark in the
Okay,
without ruining the product, obviously, but putting an inconspicuous mark somewhere that I know where it's at.
gotcha. All right, I like that.
But
I kinda like the invisible pen
it
just to kinda catch somebody though. Yeah.
yeah, I'm scared to get one of those. I don't wanna be scammed, man. I even had anxiety coming up with these 3 lists when I was reading
Oh,
through
because you
them.
now you're more, like, hypersensitive to getting scammed.
Yeah, but we have to be educated as resellers, and the more the profits that we're looking into, you have to be educated about these scams, or you're going to get scammed. And I worry about my mom a lot. She's getting older, and some of these AI generated voices are incredibly real.
Mhm.
So just scamming in general, I'm hypersensitive to it.
Well, we'll talk about who is most susceptible to getting scammed. I have that actually in our trivia, so we'll get to that.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Okay, I
Yep.
love it.
All right. So that's
All right.
mine. What's your first one?
My number one would be fake payment notifications. So scammers send fabricated receipts or notifications showing that they paid, but
Mhm.
your eBay is saying that it hasn't paid yet, and they're saying that one is wrong. So
Right.
my advice, yeah, do you ever come across anything like that? You seen something like that? They're claiming that they paid, showing you a receipt.
I haven't had somebody reach out claiming they paid. I thought you were saying more like you would get that eBay email notifying like, paid, ship now, such and such sold.
Yeah, it could be, definitely, any kind of that. Their scammers are really clever these days.
Okay.
So getting the email with an invalid click, so you click on the eBay link and then they
Mhm.
got your login info, they hacked all your stuff or it downloads a Trojan horse onto your computer, all that kind of bad stuff.
Yeah, I don't ever click on
So
that stuff for sure. And anytime I go to if something sells, I don't click on the email. I go to eBay on my internet browser and then I go there. I mean, that's like scamming 101 right there,
mhm,
right? Where
mhm.
you get a email suggesting something's happening, you go independently to the browser, logging in, not clicking on the email itself, right?
Yep,
I mean,
100%.
whether it's
That's
credit card, whether it's whatever. So,
But you would be surprised at how many people actually click on that stuff because they've had to put these notices out telling people not to click on stuff. Don't put your login info into these things.
right. Okay.
And the scammers are doing it because it's working. They're obviously getting money out of it somehow, or they want to
Right.
keep doing it and keep wasting their time. But
Right.
yeah, make sure that it's an established platform for payment processing when you get those receipts. And always, like Carl said, great advice, Carl, is to go to eBay itself and not click on the email that they're claiming us paid.
Right.
Not always. If they're claiming that they paid and eBay's saying they haven't paid, I'm gonna trust eBay. And
Yeah.
if worst comes to worst, I'm gonna call eBay to verify.
Versus a stranger that you never have never met or heard from before.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
That's
All
sounds like
right.
wisdom right there.
Yeah, and some of these might be kind of no-brainers, but like I said, man, obviously they're somebody's been clicking on them, or eBay when they keep warning us about this stuff.
Yeah. So what's the guy's name that left us that negative feedback? It's like
Roaring run.
Roaring Run. So hey buddy, you're still listening for this? Stop clicking on those scammer emails. Got to go directly to eBay. There you go. Pro tip right there.
Pro tip. That's an advanced reseller tip right there.
Yep.
All
And while
right,
you're
now I'm
at it,
gonna get a negative.
as you're traveling from one room to another and you're going and you're selling on eBay, go like look in your closet, see if there's anything you could resell. Maybe you'll find something.
That's kind of crazy because I just pulled out. I was going and getting my snorkeling gear out of the gear addict, and I
Uh-huh.
found all kinds of stuff that I forgot that I had on my
Yeah. See?
list. I just keep finding more stuff.
Yeah. There's always things you can find around the house for sure.
Yeah.
So, or I'll ask
Yeah.
my kids, like, are you still using that? Because that's valuable. So, anyway, okay. So my next one is this has not happened to me, but I've heard this happening to multiple people where it sounds like either they're dissatisfied with the item once you've sent it, or they're like fake dissatisfied and they want something more,
Mm,
whether it's like some sort of a discount, an additional item to be sent with it, or something. They want something and they're going to try to hold you hostage with negative feedback if their demands aren't met. So,
mhm,
yeah, it's kind of, yeah, blackmailing you for like, we're going to give you negative feedback. And this is a bigger deal, I think, especially, if you don't have like thousands and thousands of feedback ratings where it's just kind of, people kind of expect somebody to be dissatisfied somewhere. But
Mhm.
yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've heard about that one too. And somebody on another podcast, his advice is he's got a kind of a standard template, and it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry you're dissatisfied with this product. I'll go ahead and send it back for a full refund. I use it as training purposes for my employees to get them
Mm.
to work better or be better."
Oh, okay.
Yes, it
I
puts
think
it
the
back
key
on
is if
that.
if you can get them to like actually say, if you don't give me such and such, I'll give you negative feedback. I think you report that to eBay. I think eBay will take care of it.
I like that too. So that goes into our last week's episode, or last 2 weeks ago episode was how do you handle trolls, social
Mm.
media trolls? So on eBay trolls, when they're trying to blackmail you, you kill them with emojis. You're supposed to talk to them with emojis. That's how you get them mad at you.
Wait, so you kill them by getting them more mad at you? Is what you're saying?
Yes, and then they get frustrated and they finally unleash. Hey, look, I don't. I want. I'm going to give you negative feedback if you don't give me something for this. And then you've got the
Oh, I
ammunition
see.
that you're looking for,
I don't know if I could
right?
talk in just emojis. That's ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Oh wow.
That's
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah.
How
Our
did you give us your answer? How would you deal with it?
I reported to eBay.
Just
Yeah.
report it to eBay
Report to
straight
eBay.
away?
Try to get them to, specifically say what they're demanding, and that way you can prove to eBay that they are not very nice.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's mine. I did I mean, the closest thing I had, nobody he wasn't, like, threatening negative feedback, though he did eventually give me negative feedback, was he said something wasn't working that I literally it wasn't even something that I just, like, was flipping, it was something that I physically used. It was a video camera that I used frequently, and so I was constantly testing it out. So I knew exactly what worked, what didn't work, and so I was very specific in the description, and he's like, "Ah, these batteries, they're all dead." I was like, "I just used them." And he wanted me to
Mhm.
buy new batteries, which are, for video cameras, very specific and expensive. So
Yeah.
I didn't do it, man. I didn't fall victim to that guy. But I did get negative feedback as a result.
I know a videographer that has a bunch of batteries for sale right now if you want him. I'll
No,
reach
he
out to him.
doesn't. He threw them away, man, or something, or donated them or something. Yeah, that's an
Alright.
inside story, not relevant, Mike. Stay on
It is.
target. Stay.
I know, but it's just fun having you back on.
Thanks, man. All right, so that was
Alright.
mine. What's your next one?
So my next one is this one is scary. So when it's an the overpayment scam. They offer overpayment, and then they ask you to refund them with like a gift card or some kind of unusual different way of getting them some money back to them, like wire transfers or anything like that. And this goes along the line. I don't know if you've ever gotten the emails where you have a long lost prince or an uncle that was a prince
Oh
and
yeah,
he left you like $2 million, but he's Nigerian. It's got to be transferred over into American and all this kind of stuff.
right.
Kind of goes along with that. The best thing that I can suggest is if it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. So
Mm.
watch out for those overpayments. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to overpay literally this week for something. It wasn't
Really?
really it wasn't really overpay. Like my wife wanted this piece of furniture that was very hard to find, and she had like a very specific criteria, and
Hmm.
she reached out to somebody on Facebook and said, "I'm interested." And then the person said, "Well, it wasn't like pending pickup, which means somebody's like, actually coming for it. It was She was
Yeah.
waiting to hear back from the first person that responded to her ad." And I was like, "Well,
Hmm.
she's waiting to hear back. Like that could go on forever. Like that could literally
Hmm.
last forever." So I said, "Hey, let's." She had it listed for 100. I said, "Hey, let's offer 120, and we'll come pick it up right now."
Hmm.
And my wife like waited a half an hour, and then she was willing to do that. And then by then, the other person had already, like, I guess they were hemming and hawing about it. I don't know. I guess, and then they finally
Hmm.
decided to come pick it up. So it was too late, but our offer was legitimate though. Like we were willing to overpay a little bit because I think that item went for like $1,000 brand new at whatever store she wanted or that it came from. So 120 is still a great deal for us, right?
Yeah, no, that's still and that's kind of a different situation. It's on well, I mean,
It's
it's
not a
on
scam. I'm
Facebook
just saying
though.
that there's scenarios where they might not be scams, is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's true. We have dealt with a couple things that I thought sounded a little scammy at first, but turned out to be totally legit.
Yeah, so
So,
I think that
yeah.
getting to the scam side of things, though, I haven't seen what you're suggesting ever, except I have seen it on Facebook and I have seen it on Craigslist. So I don't know. It comes across as pretty obvious it's a scam in these places. I haven't seen this one in a while either, but the most recent scams I've seen there are like, "Hey, can you email me and verify your email so that I know you're a real person? So that I know that you, the seller, are a real person," which is really like kind of opposite of what you think. But anyway, in terms of people offering to overpay or something seeming fishy, I think those are pretty easy to sift out. I don't know. Has anybody else out there have fallen victim to that scam where they thought they were getting overpaid for something? I would
Yeah, and
be surprised.
this one's kinda the caveat is that they overpay you and then ask you for a refund.
Yeah,
So, they're overpaying and asking for a refund. So, if anybody's asking to overpay you for excess but wanting a refund or for the overpayment price,
right.
we definitely know that that's a scam
For
going
sure.
out there. So,
For sure.
don't don't get wrapped into it.
All right.
Alright, what's your next one?
Next one is more from the perspective of the buyer and something that where like you either are buying something for yourself specifically or you are buying something to flip and those items are counterfeit and maybe you just don't know it because
Mhm.
I mean, there's certain things you can tell that are counterfeit. There's certain tells, but I don't know that your average excuse me. I don't know that your average reseller is experienced in determining what's authentic versus counterfeit just by looking at it without doing
No.
serious investigation. I know if
Mhm.
I have a few tips and tricks, but for the most part, I can't tell stuff. Can you?
No, absolutely not, especially on, like, luggage or handbags or
Yeah.
clothes.
Right.
No,
So
no.
so my
Mm-mm.
two examples are from the buying perspective. Well, I was trying to find a good deal on a phone for my wife years ago. So we bought a Samsung phone off of Amazon, and it wasn't from Samsung itself. It wasn't from like an individual like you or me who were just, selling an item. It was from like it just
Mhm.
looked like like a bigger seller and it was yeah, like a phone that just basically almost didn't work out the gate. I think it was a counterfeit phone and they were on
Mhm.
Amazon. I think Amazon's gotten better at that, but I don't know 100% on that one. And then I did buy what was it? It was like a Gucci handbag, which was I don't know, like I thought it was authentic, and so I put it on eBay, and I got flagged by Gucci or whatever brand it was, and they're like, "This is not. This is a knockoff. You cannot sell this item." I was like, "Okay,
Really?
that's fine. How do you know?" And they couldn't explain to me. And so I was very confused. I was like, how, like, are they just trying, some companies will actually try to prevent you from reselling their items so that way they can corner the market on it. But
Mm.
so I don't really know, but it was just something that happened to me. So I don't know. How do you handle that stuff?
Yeah, so eBay's got a great authentication program, so you can send the stuff in and they authenticate it for you,
Right.
but that's as a seller, and this is kinda different, you're talking about being a buyer.
I said
You just
I
gotta
had a
for
buyer
be
and seller example for this one.
You just have to be educated on what product you're sourcing, what you're going after, if you wanna be good at handbags, if you wanna be good at ties, if you wanna be good at suits, you gotta know what the tells are for the good quality stuff or not. Like, for your example, though, it's kinda funny, in Gucci also, I bought some cologne and I sold the box. I listed the box on eBay, and eBay marked it as counterfeit. I'm like, it's not counterfeit. I bought it from the store. It's
Right.
Gucci cologne. It's like, what are you even talking about?
Right.
So I didn't even try to fight it, but
Oh, I would have thought it just to see what would happen, just out of curiosity. Like, hey,
yeah,
so you're saying that my bag might have been legit too, then I just got scammed by eBay then?
yes, your bad could have been legit, and they just had flagged it, and you just got to push a little harder and send it into the authentication. People,
It wasn't
mine
that
was,
valuable to go you think of those being super valuable. It wasn't worth the
mhm,
money to do that. So maybe they're trying to scam you by trying to have you authenticate it, or maybe there's something going on where there's certain companies that are preventing sales. Oh, who was it? I know that like TurboTax Inuit. Is that the
Mhm.
number in 2? I don't know the parent company. Anyway, they don't
What?
want you
Right.
selling their products on eBay, like current tax year
Oh.
products. So, like, it would
Hmm.
get flagged and it would get taken down, for example. So you buy,
Crazy.
you buy the disc and then you get like 3 licenses to use it to plug it into 3 different computers. And so you use one of them, 2 of them are still good, right? And so you could sell the other
Mhm.
2, but they stop you from doing that.
Yeah, there is, on eBay, there are certain companies that won't let you sell on eBay. I can't think of who they were. I was trying to Google it real quick. Uh, I think Disney's one of them that you can't sell on eBay. There's a few other ones that you absolutely
Well,
cannot
I'm sure
sell
there's
on
a ton of Disney
eBay.
stuff on eBay though, right?
No, I can't remember what it's called. They have a certain name for it, and it goes back to that inexperienced reseller thing, you know?
But
I don't know what to
here's what I don't
say.
understand is how can a company control if you have like not some sort of digital product, but you have a hard good, unless
Yeah,
there's some sort of like rules or laws around the hard good, how can they control what you do with it once you've taken ownership of it?
that's true. I wonder if it's just some brand, I don't know, royalties, or I don't know if it's something.
Like it,
What is
yeah,
it?
I mean, I know there's laws around some of that stuff. So, for example, like you could make the claim that a Disney movie, if you're going to show that to a group of people, like a classroom, or you're gonna have people pay admission in your really cool home theater at home, then they could make the claim that you didn't license the rights to do that, right? Even though you bought
Mhm.
whatever, the stream, the DVD, whatever it was. But I'm talking about like, like you buy like I know you're big into like, Disney princess dresses. So you buy one of those. You buy one of those, like it's just a hard good, and then you sell that to somebody else. Why would they be able to have control over that? I don't get it.
It's called Vero, Vero, and
Okay.
it's, claims on products that you can't sell on eBay.
Okay.
Looks like a pretty extensive list.
Gotcha.
Got it. We could go into that in another
Yeah,
episode.
that
That's a great idea. I should take the note on that.
yeah,
But
illegal items you can't sell. Stop selling these illegal items. There could be an episode right there.
what what can't you sell?
Yeah.
No, but I know, I've been talking to a couple other resellers about selling or sending their products in to be authenticated on eBay so they can sell them, and then they get that authenticated stamp, and then you're good to go, and you could sell it as authenticated on eBay.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's not that hard.
All right.
All right,
Well,
my last one.
yeah, what you got?
I got one more. So, how about unrealistic shipping demands? Do you ever face any unrealistic shipping demands from customers?
Um, I've had some crazy shipping demands,
Really?
but
Got anything in particular?
yeah.
Popping
Dude,
popping
I'm
up?
trying to think. I don't know if this hits what you're talking about though. So here, I'll share my story. Tell me what your issue is and I'll kind of share my thoughts.
All right. Yeah, and then give you a chance to think of some more.
Yeah.
So, scammers might insist on obscure or expensive shipping methods or request you to handle shipping insurance claims. Talked
Mm,
about this on the last episode. That's a big no-no. Stick to commonly used services and avoid handling unfamiliar insurance processes yourself.
mm. Okay.
If anybody's asking you to go outside of eBay, the answer is no. Right away. I shut it down right away.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm not doing it.
Okay.
What's
Gotcha.
your story?
I'm just trying to think. I have had shipping demands. I don't know that they've always asked to go. Well, the one that I have actually did ask to go outside of eBay. So I don't know what the solution was, but basically I listed, this is like early on, this is over 10 years ago, but I listed a
Mhm.
stair lift. So, where you have to ride a seat up the stairs if you're getting older.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting up there. I just
You're
got
almost
the
there.
ARP notice. So,
I bought one at an auction, like just kind of a basic one. It only went up like a half set of stairs. And I
uh-huh.
bought it for super cheap. I'm like, this is made out of metal and it's really heavy. It must be expensive. And so I think I
Mhm.
bought it for like 25 bucks and then I sold it for whatever, 125 bucks. And I was like, ooh,
Mhm.
and it didn't sit very long. So I was like, ooh, stair lifts are legit. And then within a month, they had like a house auction where some guy was just a rich guy getting rid of a ton of expensive items in his house. And you could look at pictures ahead of time and he had like a nice stair lift. If you win it
Mhm.
though, I had to like uninstall it, move it, and it was like a winding set of stairs. And so I was like, I don't know. And I was like, first of all, okay, the stair lift at the other auction sat there for a while, and I was only bidder, so I'm like, I'm gonna get this for super cheap. So if it doesn't sell, whatever. But the auctioneer, so he's like, who wants this for $50? And then I was like,
Whoa.
50. And then somebody jumps it to 100. I was like, "What? Like, who are you? What are you doing with this stair lift? You do not know what you're getting yourself into." And then so I had to go to 150 because that's what the auctioneer like had it set at for the next. And then so that's what I ended
Yeah.
up getting it for, is at 150. Anyway, so I uninstall it and then it just sits for a while. And this is before we ended up moving to Australia. So it was kind of a massive thing to sit in my garage. I'm like, I got to get this out of my garage. So I threw it on eBay and I had a buyer. I had somebody who's like, I
Mm,
want to buy this. My, parents are getting older. And so they told me to bring it. At the time you could bring it to like the UPS store and they would box it up for you. It's like hundreds of pounds of metal and they'll
yeah.
take care of it for you, and they were gonna pay the shipping. I just had to drop it off there once they bought it. So they paid, so I didn't have to do anything by paying extra shipping, and they already had purchased the item. I simply had to drop it there, and I did, and it worked.
Mm.
So, I don't know, would you have dropped it there?
I get a little sensitive when it comes to eBay stuff. So if it's Craigslist or Facebook on big items like that you have to palletize, that's a little different story. Like I've got a Wii Boost. It's a 25-foot long pole
Okay,
that's irregular shaped. And what I did with it to avoid that was I just did free shipping. I know how much it's going to cost me to ship it, so I'm going to ship it out, and I just charged more shipping than what I would normally do.
okay,
But if it's on something that's palletized, like if I want to buy some big equipment, then that's going to be a different story. If it's going to be like on Craigslist or on eBay, they have the irregular sizes that you can
yeah,
click. But no, I am not willing to go outside of eBay's parameters. So number one, because eBay gives you such a darn good deal on shipping and all that other kind of stuff. I don't want to go outside of it to begin with.
okay.
But
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, this is a long time ago. I don't know that eBay was as streamlined as it was now,
mhm,
but, I mean, I sold the thing, I wanna say for like, 1,700 bucks. So it was like a big
yeah,
sale.
it was big.
And it was an effort, but it was worth the effort for sure. And I ended up, like communicating with the person. They seemed legit. They ended up being legit. Here's the bummer part of the whole thing is that I ended up moving to Australia and they contact me while I'm in Australia and they say, "Hey, we bought this for our mom or our dad or whatever." And they ended up passing away before we could even install
Oh
it. And
no.
they weren't looking for a return. They're like, "Can you at least provide the pictures of what it looked like installed so that we can resell it?" And I did not have those, and, like, like, some of those old listings, those pictures don't get stored, and so I had like, those were well deleted, and they got pretty mad. They're like, can you search harder? Can you do a better job looking for these things, these pictures?"
No way.
Yeah, they didn't. I said, "I looked everywhere." Like, I really did look everywhere. I felt bad for them, and
Mhm.
they were super upset, and I was like, "Sorry. That's not I mean,
I
it's not really your job as a seller.
yeah.
You can do try to be nice, but if you don't have it, you don't have it,
Mm.
right?"
Yeah, exactly.
So
So what would you have done if the shipping hadn't made it over there? Like, would you have had to eat that stuff?
I mean, I didn't pay for the shipping, so I wasn't at least eating the shipping cost. So I would have just yeah, just lost the item, I suppose, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
really, when you
crazy.
use the postal
I
service, you're at risk for losing the item anyway, every single
no,
time. I feel
that's FedEx, not the postal service.
what are you talking about? Are you serious?
FedEx is the worst at charging you more and ruining your stuff. Yeah,
I've
they're
never had
bad.
them charge me more, and I've never had them lose anything ever.
Mm,
Are you
yeah,
serious?
it's a
Okay,
common
I've
problem.
had post office.
Yeah.
I would say in the last year, I've had 2 to 3 circumstances where the post office didn't scan it in, and so the receiver's, like, excited to get their item, they're checking for it, they're like, "It says that you dropped it off, but it says in transit, but it says it's still in the Denver area, and it's been 3 days." So they didn't scan it in. That usually
Mhm.
makes it there. The other issue is they'll actually just drop it off to the wrong address. That happened, like, twice within a month this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez. I never have any problems with USPS. With FedEx, our FedEx has gotten so bad that they won't even just give you insurance on their packages anymore. Like that's not an automatic thing, insurance on your packages. At the counter when we go to drop them off at FedEx, it says right there, not guaranteed insured or not guaranteed or whatever the little disclaimer is on
Yeah.
top of the shelf. It's wild. It's
Maybe
gotten so
that's
bad.
your area or something, I don't know,
I don't
but
know.
interesting.
Hopefully,
Okay.
maybe.
Well,
There's all kinds of people though that they say They'll have pictures of the weight of their package. They'll have the dimensions of their package. They send it to FedEx. The FedEx warehouse handling place gets it
Yeah.
and then says that it's like 2 inches bigger or 2 pounds bigger
Right.
or 2 pounds more heavier. And then they get charged for like $30 or $40 extra on shipping. And it's like,
Yeah. If that happened to you
it's a
one time,
lot
I
of
would just
money.
not use them again, but that
It's
hasn't
happened to us
happened.
twice, but it's only been a couple bucks.
Okay. Yeah, a couple bucks here and there. The post office does that too. Sometimes they'll like reimburse you.
Wait a second. The post office does not do that. The post office does that when you don't put accurate measurements and weights on your packages, Carl.
Yeah. Well, there's times, so I have one scale. There's times when like I'll sell something, I'm at home, my scales will work. I'm like, this is about 10 ounces.
Yeah,
It's close
exactly.
enough. So I haven't had a problem.
Okay.
Anyway, all right. So
That's
that's our list.
awesome.
Hopefully there was
Yes,
something in
sir.
there. One thing that was interesting or helpful. I don't know. Is
Yeah, there's gonna be things that people haven't heard. There's gonna be at least one thing that somebody hasn't heard that
well,
we've
I learned
just helped
something.
them out.
Yeah.
Did you?
From
Good.
you. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. What you got,
Alright.
man? You got Tupperware update? Is that where we're at right now?
There is a Tupperware update. So that's my question for you. Now, you said you've listened to a couple of the episodes that you haven't been on, and we've included the Tupperware update. Last week, the last episode, when I put in the Tupperware update, I got crickets from Jen. And I was like, if my co host is not interested in the Tupperware
She's
update,
like,
yeah, exactly. Then maybe we should cut out the Tupperware update, right? So, how did you feel? Do you
your wife am not interested in what you're selling, even though actually I'm the one selling it and shipping it.
yeah,
I'm
and
not
posted
interested in a story about me.
it.
That's
Maybe it's
not
because she already knows what all the sales
it's not
are,
as
right?
dramatic. Yeah, it's more dramatic if I don't know. I haven't actually asked you in a couple weeks. So what you got?
All right, so far we've hit 700 listings, 700 pieces of Tupperware, Carl. Can you believe that?
Like that's how many are live or your total number of listings?
That's how many are live right now, or that's how many we've listed so far. We've sold some of that already, so we only have
Right.
about 488 that are actually live right now.
So you
So with
sold
that,
200 like 12.
yes, we have
That's a
running in
lot,
that
man.
area.
Okay.
I know. 192. We've sold 192, listed 700. And so far to date, as of recording this podcast, we have made
Wow.
$3,165 on Tupperware. That
Okay.
is profit, or that's net profit. It's not total profit for us, but that's net profit.
Isn't that gross profit?
No, that's net after fees and everything.
But not after
But
purchase price and travel time.
correct. Purchase price is $1,900. So we're still looking at around a thousand, a little bit over $1,000 profit so
Right.
far on the Tupperware.
That's
What?
amazing.
But did you catch on to something about that? Is we bought that. The way that it was listed to us was 500 pieces of Tupperware. We've listed 700 pieces, or more than 700 pieces of Tupperware, and we still have like 20 boxes still
Oh
to
my
go.
goodness. Okay.
Can you believe that?
That's
And
amazing,
we're
man. That's
average
awesome.
and we're averaging $16 of net profit per piece per sell.
Let's say that nothing sells from now to the end. And obviously, you know, you're going to sell some more stuff,
Mhm.
but let's say nothing sells. Was it worth it for
Absolutely.
$1,000?
Just God, I love Tupperware. And I
Okay.
love vintage Tupperware. It's
All
the
right.
best.
So so now it's already been worth it. You're already in the black. So everything else is just, the cherry on top, basically, right?
It's all gravy. And we do this as a side hustle. It's Jen's side business.
Okay.
And obviously I have an 8 to 5 that I work, and this is a side business. So that's probably why running Roaring Run was kind of like, don't listen to these guys because they're not elevating their business.
Yeah.
But
It's a side
if you
hustle.
want to
Yeah.
right, it is a side hustle, but we are soliciting more Tupperware. So if any of our listeners out there have more Tupperware in the storage units, we would gladly look at it and take it off your hands if it's for the right price. So
All
hit me
right.
up at pickerspodcast@gmail.com or on Instagram at pickerspodcast. And if you're on our listening platform and you want to see what's going on, you can go on over to YouTube. We're at Pickers Podcast over there too. We throw up some shorts from time to time and what our sales are. And Carl, you have I'm relaunching or reissuing that short that you did about M-rated video games
Oh, I
again.
gotta know. I found one. I found another one. I'll just make a new one for you.
Found make a new one for me because I have that one scheduled to list while I'm on vacation,
Okay.
or it's scheduled to pop back out on vacation. But we do a lot of funny little shorts over there.
Yeah. So just to clarify, so with Jen, you mentioned kind of sharing with her about the update. I think she was skeptical whether you should do this or not in the first place. So is she now kind of all in? She's like, all right, that was a good decision.
She's all in,
All
yeah,
right,
for sure.
awesome. Awesome. That's what
She
you
loves
want.
it. She loves it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yep.
She loved becoming a Tupperware expert. She's loved listing it.
Nice.
The part that she doesn't like about it is there's a lot of stuff that she wants to keep. And I'm like, no, we're
Well,
selling
at
it.
this
We're not
point,
keeping
why
the other
not? You can
part.
keep stuff. You already made your profit, right?
Okay, we can keep one thing if one thing goes into the source pile or something like that. It's got
Yeah.
to be a one for one in and out for
That's cool,
Tupperware.
man. I'm still rooting for you to continue to sell stuff and find new treasures in those 20 extra boxes. But are you ready for scam trivia?
Scam trivia sounds good. Hit me with it. What do you got?
All right, they had 3 questions. Got to get 2 out of 3 to get this as a pass. So, number 1, in the movie Catch Me If You Can, what was the
Mhm.
commonly forged item?
Commonly forged item was an airplane ticket.
Airplane ticket. Because
Yeah,
he
because
was
he was a
pretending to be a pilot, and you're suggesting that
yes,
pilots usually have to get tickets to get on the plane.
yes. He's got to forge his ticket to get on the plane to fly the plane.
You have to the pilots buy the tickets too, is what you're saying.
The the pilots don't have to buy plane tickets to fly the plane. They
That's
don't have a
incorrect, my
special front
friend.
seat.
Incorrect, it is just a check. He was forging checks.
Is
He
it?
was
Would
pretending
that
to be a
be?
pilot, but he was forging checks.
Is that seat one AA or what would
Oh
that
my
be?
god.
I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta learn more
Okay,
about,
checks make sense.
plane flights, it sounds like. Number 2, who are the biggest victims to scams in terms of overall money loss? Not, in terms of, like, number of people that are falling victims to scams, but overall money loss. Is it A, Gen Zers, B, baby boomers, C, Gen Xers, or D, World War One vets?
Hmm. It'd have to be Gen Xers, the guys that are turning 49 to 50 this
Okay.
year coming up,
Yeah,
tend to get scammed the most.
interesting.
No, I would have to go. I'd go with boomers for sure.
Alright, so boomers are the ones that are by sheer numbers, they get scammed the most frequently. But in terms of
Mhm.
overall money loss, it is Gen Zers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
My latest poll by some, I don't know, fraud website, government fraud website that I found. Yep, they're the ones.
Mm.
They're falling victim, and they are falling victim big time. When they lose money, they lose a lot of money.
Oh, geez.
Yep.
You think it's just because they're young and inexperienced? They fall for chain letters and things like that?
Yeah. Are they that young at this point? They're like mid to late 20s, or is that where they are?
Are they?
I don't know. I feel like
Yeah, I
I
guess
was
so.
most likely when I was in college when people are trying to get me to sign up for credit cards all the time. Get a free
Mhm.
shirt, sign up for a credit card. But
Right.
anyway, yeah, they're younger for sure. But yeah, that makes me think I got to do a better
Mhm.
job with my own kids and how to avoid scams. So
Yes. Educate them.
yeah, well, I mean, there's times like because my daughter's in high school where suddenly I'm getting emails from somebody that never signed up for. I'm like, how do they have my email? And like she's just giving it to them, and it's usually fine. It's not usually anything. It's like something for school, but it's just weird just
Right.
to like have somebody that just giving out your email without permission, right? So you've already
No, that
failed,
sucks.
my friend. But we'll go third question. What is check washing?
Check washing. It's when you spill coffee on one of your checks that you got, and you've got to run it through the wash machine real quick to get the coffee stain out of
Mm.
it so you can cash it, right?
Not too far off, actually. It is literally like old school way of doing it was literally to wash a check, but to wash off the amount on the check and then who the
Mm.
check is the intended receiver. This is an issue for the baby boomers who are still writing checks. I mean, there's times when like I'm still writing checks, but I'm writing like what, like 5 checks a year, like not very often, right?
No.
Not a lot of
That I mean, what
what?
are checks? What are even checks? Like,
Yes,
what are they?
promissory notes,
No,
basically.
what is that? IOU? Can I
Yeah,
can I give you
kind
an IOU?
I mean, kinda, yeah, because you don't really know if the person has money in their bank account, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so
No, yeah. I actually knew that one. Kinda
okay.
crazy.
Well, the new way of check washing is they don't actually physically wash it. Now they have all these digital programs. You can just take a picture of the check, erase the stuff, and then rewrite the stuff, and then boom.
Oh.
And the way they're getting the checks is typically by rating mail. And so this is why it's for the baby boomers is baby boomers that are sending checks in the mail. Like we just got a check for Christmas from grandpa. That was nice of him.
Mm,
But had that been intercepted, that could have been, you know, a large withdrawal from his account. So
yeah.
yeah.
So, we need to educate our boomer parents that there's this thing called, Apple Pay or Venmo or PayPal that's much more secure, right?
Yeah. I think
Instead of
people are getting
checks.
onto, yeah, some of those other ones for sure. But yeah, and we need to educate Mike on scams because even though he sounded like an authority this episode, he did go over 3 in trivia.
They were kinda obscure, to be honest with you, and I'm horrible at trivia. So,
Okay.
I have one for you, and when I was researching the trivia before you decided to do it, I came up with one that is actually in my hometown
Okay.
in Eureka, California. So, there was a rare meteor fragment that was listed on eBay. It was said to be found in Eureka, California in the year 2000, and it was listed on eBay. The bidding started at $1.25 million.
Wow.
Do you know what it turned out to be?
No.
Just a normal piece of concrete that somebody was trying to sell as a meteorite from my hometown, man. I
Uh,
was so blown away when I found that. That's
hopefully not
crazy.
somebody that goes to your church, but
No, it wasn't. I
yeah.
do not know who this person is at
Okay.
all.
That's hilarious. Well, fellow pickers, go find your own treasures one story at a time.
And remember, it's not reselling if you're falling for the online scams. Don't do it.